So here we are again, back by unpopular demand, and quite frankly, the encouragement of some very lovely people on the internet. Now, that's not something you hear every day. Lovely people on the internet, encouragement on the internet, people being kind on the internet. But I've had more than my fair share of that with this channel, and some people have sort of stirred up the bed of my river, if you like, and encouraged me to keep pursuing this quixotic sort of path that I've taken. And in that regard, I've been meaning for the last week or so to take a look at this particular song, if only because in conversation with my daughter in the last few weeks, I quoted the first lines of this song at her, as I'm wont to do. In conversation, lines appear and I quote them. And this particular song was written after the time I was lucky enough to be working with Marillion. And so I don't have any insider information about this song, but what I do have is sort of decades of listening to Steve Hogarth's words, decades of feeling like he was climbing inside out of my head in order to write the perfect soundtrack of my life. This is not a complicated lyric. It's not deeply impenetrable. In fact, on the surface, most of the lyric is on the surface, but it is very beautiful and very perfectly crafted and contains what I think is some quite insightful, if not inspirational ideas. So this is Wrapped Up in Time off the Happiness is the Road album. And let's press that there, take a listen. So maybe there is a little bit of inside information here. At least to me, it came as a great surprise to find out how Marillion composed their music. Because for the most part, it is not composed. For the most part, it is improvised. It is five guys in a room playing, improvising, noodling, being able to communicate and play off each other in such a way as to create cohesive music. And then Steve Hogarth will, while playing either the piano or the guitar or the tambourine, will be going through his book and riffing lyrics over the top of the music, which is so far and away from how I imagined a song was composed as to absolutely blow my mind when I witnessed it. Particularly when, by the time it's packaged and presented on an album, most of the time that music and those words seem like they were crafted absolutely in lockstep. Feels like one is crafted for the other. And I guess by the time they've got done with picking and choosing and structuring and arranging and editing and replaying, to an extent the music and the lyrics have been composed to work so well together. But with Marillion, it all starts with just hours and days in the studio, jamming together, noodling, playing, finding sounds, finding riffs, finding sequences. And interestingly, this particular song almost feels to me like the product of possibly a piece of musical noodling that they liked and didn't really have a home for, sort of put together and arranged with another piece of music, because there is, in fact, a quite interesting tone change by the time we get to the lyrics. But this absolutely, for me, conjures up images of five guys in a very unassuming industrial warehouse complex in the middle of a farm on the edge of a small south of England town, just surrounded by musical instruments, playing together. it's a million miles away from how creativity is expressed in my world. It's a million miles away from what I expected, and is probably a million miles away from how lots of other bands play. But for them, that process of speaking off each other, playing off each other, creates this absolute gold. And here comes jam number 2, I think. I may be wrong. I've no idea if I'm right, but that's what it feels like to me. Heartbeat. Measured, slow heartbeat.
Things come wrapped up in time, like the past and a present, or the perfect line in a song. They take their time, and when they're gone, they take their time with them, and you can't have them back, 'cause the time for them is gone, and their time has gone with them.
So, wow, it might be something to do with this process of actually focusing in for a video like this, or it might just be because this has the power constantly to move me. It's about nostalgia. It's about more than nostalgia. It's about that sense of longing. Certainly for me, and I think in the intent of that song, that longing for a particular person in a particular place at a particular time that still has a little slice, little sliver of your heart. It's about that idea that they sit there in your memory, and all it takes to prompt that memory is the smell of something, or a line reread in a book, or the perfect line in a song. All it takes is that moment where your brain makes that connection and the synapses fire, and you're carried back in time to that person in that place. And I'm sure there are people in the world lucky enough to live in the present and be with the absolute perfect person for them, and to have no sense of longing at all for another place and another time. I am not lucky enough to be that person. My life is wrapped up in memories and echoes. And this song speaks to that. It speaks to those people gone. Not just the lovers, not just the almost lovers, the former lovers, the never were lovers, but the friends that for a particular time were. I'm a serial monogamist when it comes to friendship. I generally only have 2 or 3 really, really good friends at a time. And some have come and some have gone as, lives have changed. But in that time that that we are friends, they are a very big part of my emotional makeup. And this is about those people. So let's look at the lyrics, because I mean, this is what a beautiful pitch perfect piece of writing this first three lines is. Things come wrapped up in time like the past in a present. I mean, if Steve Hogarth didn't do a lap of honour around his kitchen like a football player who'd just scored a winning goal, all is not well in the world. That is a beautiful piece of writing. The double meaning of past and present, the double meaning of present, the double meaning of wrapping something up. Things come wrapped up in time like the past in a present, or the perfect line in a song. As I say, I do this song now because a conversation with my daughter prompts this song to stir up from my database, present itself and be spoken. I'm kind of the lyric terminator. There's always that menu selection process going on, and I'm firing those lyrics into the world because that's how my brain makes those connections. But that's how those lines in the songs work. They come stirring up out of your memory, and they wrap the past up in that lyric and present them to you like a present. They take their time, and when they're gone, they take their time with them. So that's... who is it for you? Who are the people that were a significant part of your life for a time? The lovers, the lovers you had, the lovers you didn't have, the friends you had, the friends you didn't have, the times you had, that when they took their time, they were the most important thing in your life. And now they're gone. They've taken that time with them. It's so perfectly evocative. And you can't have them back because the time for them has gone. And their time has gone with them. You can't go back. I wrote an entire one-act play for a 24-hour play competition based around the idea of the inability to change one of your own personal sliding doors without undoing all of the other doors that you've subsequently stepped through. You can't go back in time and change that one thing. Be with that one person. Take that job, not take that job, make that move, not make that move. You can't do that without the understanding that every other aspect of your life will be changed by it. Like going back in time and killing Hitler. It's theoretically, it's supposed to change everything, and it will. And it won't necessarily stop the Second World War. It'll just make it different and probably end in a different result. So this idea that you can't go back because that time is gone, that resonates with me. There are a few regrets I've had in my life, the smallest of which was not accepting an invitation to go out drinking with Oliver Reed, because I was young and stupid and had a friend in the car downstairs and didn't want to let him down. Had I gone out with Oliver Reed that night, it might not have changed my life. But there are decisions that I made throughout the years that I sometimes go back to and think, what if I'd done it differently? And with some of them, the difference would have resulted in me not having two amazing children, would have resulted in me not being, commissioned this week to write a movie for Nigeria. They would have resulted in my life being markedly worse, not better, even though you think I can change that thing and still have all the rest of these decisions stay in place. You can't. I got super philosophical about a very simple lyric because, this song is about this process of nostalgia and longing and looking back and feeling the pull of the past. And I don't think that's bad, because I think it's kind of good to visit with the past for a time. The echoes of them. Hogarth sings with great emotion. There was a time when his singing style, I'm pretty sure early on in his time with Marillion, somebody referred to him as being the voice, and he would sing he would belt out these great sort of deeply emotive feeling songs. In more recent years, he's been playing with this falsetto, this almost cracking voice, I think, to try and just break through the surface and communicate his passion and his emotion. And this is, this song is all about emotion, and it's all about, in his case, a person. I suspect a single person, certainly, potentially one or two important people in his life. There's an echo of them, an echo of the time that they were wrapped in, sweet or bitter in the memory, but an echo is all I can reach now. I mean, that's the interesting thing as well, right? That your memory of somebody that important doesn't have to just be a good memory or a happy memory. It can be a memory that was wrapped up in some sense of bitterness, some sense of how things ended rather than how they started. And that also comes welling back in these echoes of this particular little bubble of time that bubbles up in the memory, sweet or bitter. And it's all that's left of a slice of our lives, an important slice, a sad slice, a slice that comes freighted with regret, or comes freighted with just nothing but a sense of love for the person that's no longer in your life. This song so evokes for me that sort of those thoughts of two or three people without whom I would not be who I am, even though they are no longer, let's say, integral to my life. And you'll notice by the end of this song, those beautifully tasteful guitar stabs, everything about the end of that song, just pitch perfect for what the lyric and the vocals are doing. Almost certainly the result of a jam, but by the end, a piece of musical joy. I'm not erudite enough. I'm not smart enough to break down just how clever this last piece of lyric writing is. And at the risk of getting too esoteric, Mr. Hogarth introduces the idea of this memory echoing like a star in the sky above me, which, from the guiding of the North Star to the star that brought the wise men to Bethlehem, to the Christ's child, we have this sense of the constancy of stars and the abilities of stars to direct us. Some of us even believe in the star signs and the idea that the night skies and those things they represent will guide our lives in the moment. But certainly he introduces this idea of this guiding light, this star that still has an influence on his life. And then he gets into some stuff that I'm sure Neil deGrasse Tyson wouldn't object to, because he starts to talk about how the story of this star's life is told backwards down the rod of light. Because if the light is coming from sufficiently far enough away, even at the speed of light, it's effectively traveling back in time. And the light that is arriving in your eyes now, wrapped up in this present of time, is long extinct. It's traveled so far from the past, from your memory, from a previous time, that the thing that you're remembering is extinct, but its light is still impressing images on your mind's eye. That is simply stunning as a piece of imagery, as a piece of writing, as such a deep thing freighted in such a simple piece of writing. I absolutely adore it. I'm not entirely sure how far I've jumped back, but hopefully I've jumped back enough to enjoy some of it again and to remind you. Almost certainly, my guess is this song came out of an improvisation. Almost certainly this song came out of noodling and Mr. H going through his notebook and seeing if the lines that he'd scribbled down fit. But listen to how perfectly it all comes together, and appreciate how it bubbles in my memory and stirs up so many long extinct memories. Yeah. Things come wrapped up in time like the past in a present, or the perfect line in a song. This song has at least two absolutely perfect lines. That one and this end line. The story of its life told backwards down this rod of light, but at its beginning, long extinct. It's an astonishing piece of writing. It's a pretty little song. It's not a prog masterpiece. It's not bombastic. It's not epic. It's a pretty little piece of music, but it is an absolutely gorgeous song. And I defy you to disagree with the premise that things do in fact come wrapped up in time like the past in a present. Yeah. That's all I got to say. This has probably been sub 30 minutes, which for me is what passes as short. Thank you for your indulgence. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your present. I hope to see you again. Until then, keep the faith.